What up is Marcus. Now we're doing sits of the week. We had a great week last week. We're going to discuss about some of the benches that we had last week. But if you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. We do sits of the week every Friday. We do starts yesterday, every Thursday. And so we're going to go through quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, players that normally are started on a week-to-week basis or majority of the time, and we're sitting them. We feel like their matchup is either really bad or there's some sort of analytics or study behind it that we feel like it's just going to be a tough week for them. So if you haven't watched the video last week, or if you maybe forgot what the video was last week, here are some of the sits of the week of last week. Stafford versus Dallas. And I've been on the anti-Stafford train, and I said, hey, this is gonna be a bad week. Was a bad week. Rodgers versus the Giants. He did okay. I think he did fine. I mean, in the beginning, it looked like he was going to be doing amazing that first half, and then he really slowed down in the second half. Zeke versus Rams had a bad game. Connor versus Eagles ended up getting, of course, injury, so we'll kind of put an asterisk on there. Gibson versus the Titans. Horrible game for Gibson, and we kind of knew that this was going to happen. It was the end of the Gibson reign. Akers versus Dallas. Bad. Deontay versus the Bills. Bateman versus the Bengals. Well, he got hurt. So again, these are players that we were benching, and this was, of course, we do these videos every Thursday to produce on Friday, and at that point, Bateman was slated to play. But Bateman, we had benched in that. Elijah Moore versus the Dolphins. Absolutely horrible game for him. We kind of saw that was potential route in Miami. Tanyan versus the Giants. Seattle versus Seattle and Indianapolis tight ends, and Pat Freiermuth versus the Bills. I'm going to say that we had a pretty good week last week. So we're going to go through the same thing, because I always want to give you at least, I'll tell you, there's going to be some weeks that maybe in the future that I might not have as good of weeks, but that week was a good one. And we had a good year so far. So again, if you want some sits every Friday, so then you get the video here. So Stafford, Again, I feel like we do this every week. But, people are like, oh, Panthers. We got to potentially start them. No, don't start them. Panthers. In fact, Stafford's had 27.3 points in fantasy the last 3 weeks combined. I am staying away from Stafford as much as I possibly can. Still, until they can figure out something besides Kupp and besides his little dump-offs to Higbee, we need... I could see this game being 17 to... man, I don't even know how many points the Panthers are going to get. 3? 6? It's going to be a bad game. Marcus Mariota versus the 49ers. 49ers are the toughest defense this year so far. And Marcus Mariota, I understand he can run, but this is going to be one of those games that I feel like you're going to see a bad Atlanta team, or not even a bad Atlanta team, just a bad offense. And they have no Cordero Patterson to do little dump-offs and make him, he can't just magically find himself in the end zone or break a bunch of tackles. And Pitts has been banged up, and so really... even Drake London's been a little bit questionable. This is going to be a bad game for Marcus Mariota. And the last one that I have is Trevor Lawrence versus the Colts. Colts had a really good defensive performance against Russell Wilson, or just Russell Wilson as being, again, more of Russell Wilson-like. I think this just is a game that we're going to see a lot of what we saw division-wise last week when Lawrence played the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans, not a great defense, but still, we saw a lot of... we just saw that the Jaguars were just trying to manage themselves into a win. And so I see the Jaguars game just being kind of a muddy fest. Not literally muddy fest. I just think that they're going to be a struggling game. Najee Harris, we're going to get into the running backs against the Bucs. You don't start running backs against the Bucs if they're average. And Najee has went from the elite status into this kind of you're going to get volume, but he's been running for a yard a carry. And against the Bucs, it's only going to get worse. And so you hope that he falls into the end zone, and Pittsburgh has been very bad at that lately. So I am staying away from Najee Harris if I possibly can, and I am playing a different running back that I talked about yesterday. Any of the running backs I talked about yesterday. Miles Sanders versus the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys have been a good defense, and I think the Eagles are going to score, but I don't think it's going to be Miles Sanders. I could easily see this being a little bit of A.J. Brown, a little bit of Devontae Smith, and Jalen Hurts. Again, the running back one on the team is still Mr. Jalen Hurts. And so Sanders against Cowboys, this is going to be I'm going to try to bench, and I'm going to go through the other side here. Zeke versus Eagles. Eagles don't let up points to the running back position. They're a stud defense. They're up there with the 49ers so far. And so Zeke is another guy that I am trying to just bench and not play. There's plenty of other players that may look less appealing name-wise that I would rather have over Zeke. Gibson / Brian Robinson. If you have a Washington running back, heck, even add McKissick is potentially a flex play, but I'm going to add him into this kind of sit play because really it's the Bears. I understand the Bears defense wasn't looking good, but I don't want a third of the pie. The third of the pie is not going to be good enough in this game. And we need I don't wish injury, but whoever's owning a running back in this situation, you have to almost hope for an injury, or just hope that one of them just clearly gets benched, and which likely is Antonio Gibson, but you just hope that okay, Antonio Gibson, you're back up, which I don't understand. He's a very talented running back, and whatever Washington wants to do. All right, any Panther versus the Ram, and this is for wide receivers. DJ Moore. They don't have anybody else that's been fantasy production wise, but DJ Moore against the Rams. Any Panther not named Christian McCaffrey, you're not playing them at all. No, not in DFS, nothing. You're not playing them. Nope, nothing. Any Steeler versus the Bucks. Deontay, George Pickens. I mean, even if you could throw Pat Freiermuth in there, I guess, if you want. No wide receiver that is on the Steelers uniform. I am playing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then the last one is Drake London against the 49ers. I talked about it previously. He's been banged up. And you have Marcus Mariota against the 49ers. The 49ers are a stud defense. This is going to be one that you're going to have Drake London potentially being even double covered. They're going to say, hey, Drake London and Kyle Pitts, you're not going to beat us. And San Francisco is one of those teams that can actually probably shut down a superstar or two. Or even if Pitts, you have to figure out if he's going to be actually on the field, and that's going to be the biggest key for just Atlanta, if Pitts is actually able to make it or not. But I still think Drake London is a sit if possible. Tight ends. Dalton Schultz versus Eagles. If he's healthy, you're still benching him. I don't trust him in that leg. He's just been looking so bad. And again, I'm not willing to risk the injury. There's a couple tight ends I talked about last week that, heck, I'll even spoil from yesterday. Will Disley, I would rather have starting over Dalton Schultz, which is crazy to think about that. And we're only 6 weeks in. Hunter Henry versus the Browns. I am benching him. Just not enough passing volume, and I think most of it's going to go to Jacoby Myers, so I am benching Hunter Henry. Tyler Conklin, he went really good, bad, zero, goose, nothing. And so I think that against the Jets, it's going to be kind of another game where I feel like they're just not going to... Tyler Conklin plays for the Jets. Oh, Tyler Conklin played. I was like, wait, Tyler Conklin against the Jets? No, he's against the Packers, because the other one I have is right above it. It says Robert Tonyan versus the Jets. So that matchup of tight ends, I don't want Robert Tonyan. I don't want Tyler Conklin. Again, I don't want the tight ends in that game. I just don't want them. All right. So again, this is Marcus with Dynasty Football Dads, but we're doing some redrafting here and get some daily decisions to help you through your team here. All right. We will see you guys next Monday. Go through some of the studs, the duds, what we are starting to think about with waiver wires and injury reaction here. If you're new to the channel, again, subscribe. We'll see you on Monday.